Recording. All right. Hi, everyone. This is Mastering Distress Tolerance Workshop, Building Resilience in the Times of Crisis. So before I start sharing my presentation, what do you guys understand by distress? What is distress to you?
Stress.
For me, okay, we didn't put up our hands. Sorry.
It's all right. It's all right.
Okay, for me, the stress is when you are in a state of stress because of a very inconvenient circumstance that is happening.
Okay. Welcome, Paul. Gary said he thinks distress is distress. Distress is stress. That's one way of saying it. Yeah, it is. Anybody else?
Yeah, it's the negative stuff that comes into your head when you're in that situation, and then in that situation that you feel distressed. You don't know how to get out of it.
Yeah, I think it's when your heart rate goes up, your stomach goes in knots. So there's a physical feeling. And then in a way, what you intended to say flies out the window, and all of a sudden you're catastrophizing everything and you fall apart, basically.
Okay. Yvette?
Oh, I think
Pressure.
distress. Yeah, it's pressure.
Pressure.
Pressure that you cannot take.
Oh, okay. Nice. All right. So let me start the presentation and then we'll go through it. We'll all see. Can you see the slides? Okay. Mastering Distress Tolerance, Building Resilience in the Times of Crisis by Mohib, the Happiness Coach. Oh. Okay. A little bit about me. Who am I? Who am I is a big question, but a brief introduction. My name is Mohib, the Happiness Coach. I'm a transformational CBT, Master NLP, and counseling certified coach specializing in stress and anxiety management, mental well-being, personal growth, and breakthrough coaching. I help individuals understand and better appreciate their potential and self-worth. You can follow me on Instagram on Mohib, the Happiness Coach. Okay, the topics that we will cover today is quite a lot, but necessary. That's why I extended this to 1.5 hours instead of 1 hour, because the last time we did 1 hour, we were kind of scrambling at the end to cover some of the things. So we'll do an introduction to distress, understanding distress tolerance, and then we will jump into this understanding distress intolerance. And then we'll look into the 3 clusters of distressing emotions, the distress cycle, distress intolerance beliefs, distress intolerance activities, distress improvement activities, distress tolerance skills, problem solving, and then we'll do a question and answer. But as some of you know, my workshops are very interactive. So in between, we'll stop and we'll have a conversation and we'll do question answer in between as well. I will also be doing a little quiz in the middle somewhere before in maybe about half an hour time, just so you all can have a feel of where are you with distress tolerance in your lives. Okay. Introduction to distress. So first of all, before we go anywhere, let's look at what distress is. Like all of you said different things, and a lot is like that, but this is actually the problem, that it's not understood well. Everybody is making a guess, but everybody is living it. So distress is a state of extreme discomfort or suffering caused by challenging circumstances, negative emotions, or overwhelming situations. But then you will say, isn't that stress? No, it's not. It often manifests as emotional or physical pain. Distress can be characterized by feelings of anxiety, sadness, fear, or despair. It can result from various sources, including personal crisis, external stresses, or internal struggles. Distress often leads to a strong desire for immediate relief or escape from the discomfort. I'll explain what it means. Make your notes. We will have a chat on this. So that is this distress. Okay. Now, how is this different from stress? So we look at the differences between stress and distress. So stress is a natural response to pressure or demands on everyday life. So what Jennifer was saying, it was stress. Distress is extreme form of stress that becomes overwhelming and debilitating. So that is natural. So why I'm breaking it down like this? So the idea is that it is natural. We all have it. It is part of our living. So it's a natural thing. We get stress and we get distress. And then stress may lead to feelings of pressure, tension, and worry, but it typically does not reach the level of extreme discomfort. So you can stress about a presentation. Like right now, I might be stressed, or maybe before coming into this I was stressed, but it wasn't hurting me. It wasn't putting me in a place where I was not able to move. Distress is characterized by a high level of discomfort and emotional suffering. So intensity and the response. Stress can motivate individuals to take action, adapt, or find solutions to challenge. But distress often leads to emotional reactivity, avoidance, or impulsive actions as an attempt to elevate the discomfort. Duration. Stress is often short-term and can be manageable within the context of daily life. Distress may persist over a long period of time, making it more challenging to cope with. Triggers. Stress can be triggered by various factors such as work deadlines, exams, or relationship issues. Distress may be triggered by significant life events, trauma, or the accumulation of chronic stresses. So, wait, let's talk a little bit. Let me stop this. Did that make sense? Do you see that majority of our issues is from the distress rather than the stress? Yes, Mary.
I was going to ask if you manage to handle your stress, then you don't kind of like tip into distress. But then I remember that we're also going to discuss stress resilience. So I reckon maybe I'm kind of jumping the gun a bit.
No, it's
because
fine. It's fine. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You can be under a lot of stress, but not tip into distress. You
Absolutely.
would still be managing your stress without having to be distressed. But you can, it also feels like there's like stress levels for different areas of your life, because you can have like a work life that is very stressful but is manageable, but then you have an emotional life where you're very distressed because maybe there's a problem with your relationship. Like there's also different facets of your life that may or may not be in or out of stress from the way
Absolutely.
you explained it.
You're right. You're right. So see, so we have primary emotions and we have secondary emotions. I'll get into that and how it affects us, and the stresses that we have on daily basis. We with what to cook, what to
Traffic and
cook,
the weather and
what to
people
cook.
just being inconsiderate. So
For example, one thing, especially mothers, what to cook, what to feed the family. You have to figure this is a stress, but it's not distress, right? So yes, Emily. Your mic is off.
The stress is that situation where you land in where you don't know a way out. Can be a very extreme situation. Example is a person who is on the is in financial distress and can lose his property and his house and don't know how to fix it. It can be extremely distressful then. It's way more stress than wondering what to cook for a meal.
Absolutely. Or you are thinking of a situation which you think it is
very distressful.
Very stressful, it is distressful, but you're saying it's stressing me. Because you'll see as I'll share more, you'll see that how it is all mostly within our head, within our mind. So it's not like a physical cut that stresses you. It's not like having a fever. You can be sick and you can get stressed about it, but then you know that you will recover. Right? But there can be another person who can look at your fever and get distressed, thinking, oh, she has COVID. Oh, she's going to die. Oh, what am I going to do? Oh, what will happen to her children? Oh, what will happen to her husband? What will happen to the property? And that is going on and on and on. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. They just can't let it go.
Oh, it looks like Mohib froze.
Mohib froze. Don't freeze.
I thought he was just smiling at us for a very long time.
Mary, do
He's
you want to
all
take over, Mary?
I'm back.
I'm back.
I'm back. I could hear you guys, but I think I was frozen on your screen.
Yes, frozen with a happy smile.
All right, let's continue. Let me share. Okay. So just a second. So we need to understand what happens to us inside. Inside is more important than outside. So distress tolerance is the ability to withstand emotional discomfort and crisis without resorting to destructive behaviors. It involves accepting the reality of the situation and managing emotions effectively. Recognizing distress is the first step in managing it. Understanding how distress manifests in your body and mind allows you to respond constructively. Emotions often lead to distress. Learning how emotions trigger distress can help you intervene and regulate your reaction. Okay. Soham.
I wanted to share, the first point that you actually shared with us, the distress tolerance. When family member is ill, critically ill in hospital, now, you can become very distressed because, you cannot help them physically. You can emotionally sort of give them good wishes and healing, but you can't physically do anything. Also, back of your mind, that person, that family member, may die, time has come. So you become very distressed that moment in time. But then you have to accept the situation and the reality, because in life, death is inevitable, no matter what happens. So because I've experienced this with both of my parents when they were both, in hospital dying, I wasn't accepting that they're going to die, but there was a part of me was accepting, saying that I have to actually accept that, they're not going to come out of it. I have to accept it, the reality, the situation. But I will say emotionally, I was very distressed. But having had, good family, my siblings around me supporting each other really helped overcome the distress, and not remain in that feeling of, what's the emotion, the unhappy emotion, and we were saying, let's celebrate their lives instead of, being selfish and say, I want my parent, my mother, and my father to be here in the ill body that they had, basically. So, but that was, I would say that I felt it in the physical form, the distress of losing a parent.
Okay. Soham, thank you for sharing. Now, if I tell you that that was actually stress, okay, because after you lose somebody, then you get distressed, then you go into despair, then you go into grief, then you go into emotional overwhelm that you cannot operate anymore, right? So you went through that stressful situation, which was short, you could feel it, and then you managed it with the thinking and the support that you had around you. So, but imagine people who lose their loved one very sudden, and then they go into distress. Or they can be stressing over somebody's sickness, but they go into distress after losing them. And it takes over, they become overwhelmed. They become so much that they can't function. They're in this space of despair. They're like, oh, what will happen to me? Like, especially loss of a child or a life partner, or even a friend. So then you go into these things. You go into these extreme spaces and that you don't know how to get out, or you don't even want to get out. Emmeline, yes, please.
I can really relate with your story. When I lost my husband, it was sudden. I'm not talking about my current husband, but the one I had before. It was a sudden death, and the situation was stressful, but I still have my resources. And yes, I was in shock, but even that, I won't say is the distress. But after a few months, 2 or 3 months along the run, with all the emotions in the different situations and the stress accumulated up to that point that I couldn't handle it anymore. That was my distress state.
Yes. So your emotional state was so much that you cannot operate. You don't want to eat. We'll get into it deeper, as we go. Okay.
Yes.
So what is distress intolerance? Okay, I help you. So distress intolerance is actually the problem. Okay, so this is a perceived inability to fully experience unpleasant, aversive, or uncomfortable emotions, and is accompanied by a desperate need to escape the uncomfortable emotions. Let me give you a simpler example. You have a meeting with a boss who is very abusive. So before you go into that situation, you have a perceived inability of yourself that he will yell at me, and you do not feel that emotion. And now you're escaping it. You don't want it. He will yell at me and I'll feel like something. And you'll say, I don't like that. So you're escaping the emotion that you would be feeling. But it's a perceived inability to manage. You could most probably manage it very well. But then since you are in your mind, you're perceiving that you're unable to manage yourself emotionally in that situation. You want to avoid it. Yes, Emily.
Is it the same as what do you call it? Avoidance?
Yeah. Avoidance is one of the methods.
And sometimes when a person go in a disassociative state to kind of buffer themselves against whatever emotions they may feel.
Yeah. So, for example, the extreme case would be social anxiety. People who suffer from social anxiety. In their mind, they perceive themselves unable to manage themselves emotionally in a social gathering or in a social place. So in their mind, when they think of that place, oh, people will be making fun of me, people will be looking at me one way, and I will behave this way. And there is so much of that goes in their mind that they just lock themselves in the room and they don't want to go up. Kamil John, you wanted to say something?
Absolutely. I say hi to everybody in the group, and for now, just listening, try to get into that conversation. Obviously, I have a lot of experiences personally around those matters, the stress, and the story I heard before, it's kind of related to me as well, because I went exactly through that situation when my mom was passing away. In that time, honestly, I didn't have the knowledge that much of understanding everything. So recently, my sister in Australia, she got diagnosed with cancer, which my mom passed away through the same thing. But now, through the understanding and controlling the emotions stuff, I try to do something better, something new. Because the first moment I heard the news, that was really shut off everything. My brain couldn't process that much. And after I gave myself a time, and after I came back to myself, I said, you know what, in the situation, if I just sit down, do nothing, you're not going to help the situation. So I started research, and I came back and say, how can I help? This is the question you can ask yourself through every situation. When your body goes through the stress and everything, you are the only one you can help yourself to come back, force your brain to give you the answer and show you the way. So that's my personal experience through the life, and I'm very glad to join the group and listening to all the different experiences and learn something. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So distress intolerance is the culprit. But to manage distress intolerance, you need to become distress tolerant. Okay? Because we get into trouble when we are distress intolerant. We cannot emotionally manage ourselves, or we think we cannot, because of maybe an experience we have had in the past where we lost it, and we just did not like that experience, and we don't want to go through that again. So now every time something like that happens, we don't want. So difficulties tolerating is often linked to fear of experiencing the negative emotions. But remember, perceived is the key word. It's perceived. We are perceiving that we will not be able to manage ourselves. So we don't want to even go through it. Often distress intolerance centers around high intensity emotions. That is when the emotions are hot, strong, and powerful. For example, intense despair, which is hopelessness, felt after an argument. Among friends, spouses, all this is quite common. Intense fear while giving a speech. Some people can't get on a podium and talk. It is just so much, because in their mind, they perceive that they're unable to manage themselves emotionally. So they can't talk. When they go there, they freeze. However, the same could occur with lower intensity emotions as well. For example, nervousness about an upcoming exam, job interview, a blind date, sadness when remembering a memory from the past. So these lower intensity emotions can also hit you, which will put you in a space where you will go into this urge to avoid it, urge to stop, urge to escape. Paul, you want to say something? You look very intense right now. Okay, so that was distress intolerance, but there will be more of this that I'll be talking about this. So I'll go a bit faster. So distressing emotions come in 3 different clusters. So this is the first one is the sad. The second one is the mad. And the third one is the scared. So these are categorized in these three clusters. So what is the sad? So the sad emotions that reflect sadness include disappointment, hurt, despair, guilt, shame, sadness, depression, grief, misery. These emotions can be connected to thoughts of hopelessness, loss, regret, and inadequacy with the urge to hide away. So you go into flight response state. What is mad? The mad emotions that reflect anger include irritation, agitation, frustration, disgust, jealousy, anger, rage, hatred. These emotions can be connected to thoughts of unfairness, injustice, and wrongdoing with the urge to lash out in some way. So you go into fight response state. The scared. The scared emotions that reflect fear include nervousness, anxiety, dread, fear, panic, terror. These emotions can be connected to thoughts of threat, vulnerability, and helplessness with the urge to avoid or escape. Freeze or fight response state. You go into freeze or fight response state. So, but you see, the response state can differ from person to person. Some people can get into the mad emotions, but the response can be different. So response state is dependent on your learning. Where did you learn and how did you learn? Because that's your defense mechanism, right? So that's you have built over time from a young age. So you can go in, and the fourth one, which is really important, is the fawn response state. So this can happen in that also. So you go into pleasing. You go into pleasing your aggressor or your the beast, okay, or your abuser. You go into pleasing because you think that's the only way for you to be safe. So if they get things on time, they get it, they you know, they will not yell at me. So this in relationships a lot happen. Yes, Mary.
It's very curious that most people would, well, let me not say most people, but I've never associated the distress with the mad. Definitely with the sad and the scared, but I've never associated it with the sad.
Oh, actually,
the fun.
With the mad, actually, there is more. Like right now, there will be people distressed over what's happening in Ukraine, what's happening in Palestine, what's happening in Afghanistan, what's happening in Iran. There is so many people are in mad state, which is more from you know, frustration or anger and rage and hatred, but they don't know how to they don't know how to do anything about it or what to do about it. So the anger comes out in different places. They can be yelling at their kids. They can be driving like a mad and having road rage, or you know, and their methods of or escape methods are different. Later we will touch on that. Okay. Questions? Anything? Is this clear? Yes, Emmeline.
Okay, I was thinking about suppressed anger, or delayed anger response. Does that come into play with a possible people-pleasing mode and suppressing the anger? So
you see, anything suppressed, you know, it's okay. So as I was telling, you have emotions, you have different levels of emotions. You have primary emotions, and then you have secondary emotions. Majority of us, we operate, actually all of us, we operate from primary emotions. Okay, we can get We can get angry over something, or we can get irritated with something. We can get annoyed about something. We can get frustrated over something, but we don't know how to express ourselves, and then we suppress it. We can be sad about it. We suppress it, till one day we just blow up. You know, a lot of such things you will see in kids going in shooting in schools in the US mainly. A lot of suppression or bullying or these kind of or negligence from parents. All these things have built over time till this. A lot of these kids have no history of violence in the past. They're all good kids, they're all obedient kids, and suddenly they're gone all mad and they've just start shooting everybody in school. So there's a whole lot. This is the surface level, that it is clustered like this, but this is not everything. So you are all coaches, that there needs to be more investigation. But this, what it gives you, that you understand that it can be coming from here. So when you're talking to your clients, you can find, like connect the dots on what's happening from their response. How are they responding? What are they saying? How are they expressing themselves or not expressing themselves? And all this we can categorize, and you can see, okay, are they stressed or are they distressed? Sometimes they are just stressed, and then you go through it and you're like, oh yeah, oh, I never thought about it that way. Oh, okay, thank you, I'm done. So one session, you are done with the client. But some clients, you go deeper, and then you will realize that no, there's a whole lot of things. Thanks, Priya. Thank you for being here. Have a good session. And you'll find that there is more to it. So we need to learn to manage our emotions, not control. Manage. We cannot control. But the problem is that we are all trying to control our emotions. And when we are not able to control it, then we get into one of these clusters, and then we get distressed. So there is a cycle to distress. Oh, one S is missing. So the distress cycle. When distress happens, it feels like chaos, but it usually follows a predictable pattern. People who are unfamiliar with the pattern often don't realize that what is gripping them until it's too late. So by learning distress cycle, you will learn to recognize the cycle as it unfolds before you make a regrettable action. So trigger happens and you make a snap judgment. So this is what we call giving meaning or interpreting a situation, an event. And then you feel the intense emotion based on your previous experiences, based on your knowing of, okay, if that happens, this emotion comes up, and that emotion will come up. It can be in one of the clusters. It can be sad, mad, or scared. Okay, then you will have a strong physical feeling. You will either become cold or become hot, or depending on which one, sad, mad, or scared you go into, you will feel the physical feeling. And then the overwhelm, and you'll get overwhelmed with these intense emotions. And then your urge to act on the emotions, not majority, but actually urge to escape this emotion because you don't want it. So you go into your escape method to avoid it, to not have it, to escape from it. And then you don't take an action, or you take an action. If you go into mad, you might punch somebody. If you go into sad or scared, you might not go into anything or do anything and still regret it later on. And then you go into another cycle of thing because of what you did or you didn't do. Now you're going into another cycle. Oh, what kind of person am I? How can I be so angry? You know, or you will say, oh, what's wrong with me? Why am I having these emotions? No. And then you go into the vicious cycle of anxiety, or you go into depression. So, distress intolerance beliefs. So we all carry certain beliefs that makes us distress intolerant. I can't stand this. Do you hear yourself saying that at times? So that's a thing. Or your client comes to you and tell you, oh, I can't stand that. It's not that they can't stand it. They're talking about the emotional roller coaster that they go through that they cannot stand. It's unbearable. I hate this feeling. I must stop this feeling. I must get rid of it. I can't cope with this feeling. I will lose control. I will go crazy. This feeling will keep going on forever. It is wrong to feel this way. It's stupid and unacceptable. It's weak. It's bad. It's dangerous. So these are all the beliefs that we carry with ourselves towards situations, people, you know, a lot of these things that we don't want, that we perceive, that makes us feel in a way that we don't want to feel that way. So we get emotionally distressed. So then we go into activities. We go into impulse behavior. We do self-harm. We do substance abuse. We go into avoidance, excessive worrying, isolation, self-criticism, denial, procrastination, emotional suppression, escape into fantasy, seeking constant reassurance. So these are the activities that we go into when we are in distress and we are intolerant of the distress. Question? Yes, Emily.
Could it be that codependent people tend to go into these type of cycles?
Absolutely. Why are they codependent? They're avoiding something, right? That they have made themselves dependent on somebody or something, which is their escape. Distress intolerance escape methods. So there are 3 different escape methods. First one is avoidance. So in avoidance, second one is numbing and withdrawing. Third is harmful releases. So avoidance is, so we have situational avoidance. So that means that we avoid different situations. We try to avoid different situations which makes us distressed, which makes us worried, which makes us overwhelmed. So we avoid those kind of situations. And reassurance seeking and checking. Do I look good? Is it okay? Can we do this? Is my presentation okay? Is my book okay? Is my So we continuously wanting people to reassure us about our work, about our, state of mind, about our behavior. So we go into these things because we want to avoid the distress that we perceive that we are unable to manage. Numbing. Oh, sorry. Distraction and suppression. So we distract ourselves with different thing, and then are we suppressed? It's okay, never mind. I'll be fine. We don't talk about it. We don't do anything. We just suppress it. And we distract ourselves with something else. Netflix. Withdrawing and numbing. So we want to numb the pain of distress. So we take drugs. We take alcohol. Because it does not allow us to think. After certain amount of drinks, you can't think anymore. So you numb it. Binge eating. Or not eating. Excessive sleep. So one thing that all of us have done this in our life in one period or another. But we never knew that we are being distress intolerant. We've all done binge eating. We have all done excessive sleep. But if you think about it now, you are avoiding something. You are escaping a distress intolerance. Yes, Amelie.
So it seemed to me that depression can be is actually distress intolerance, a form of distress intolerance, and a person who becomes so badly depressed, who becomes suicidal. The suicidal source is actually a type of escape mechanism, which means a kind of withdrawing into themselves.
Okay,
Is
so
that correct?
So depression is very deep. Maybe it has started with distress intolerance. So I wrote about this depression and sadness, and where I wrote that depression is sadness without a cause, because when you are depressed, you don't know why you are in that state. You can't remember what happened. Any depressed person, you ask them, why are you like this? Why are you depressed? And they'll tell you, I don't know. Because if they know that they're depressed about something, then it can be dealt with. The problem is that they don't know why are they like that. So there's no actual cause to it to begin with. Or they have forgotten it, or they have yes, Emmeline.
The cause can be blocked.
Yeah. So
The
numbing,
cause
right?
can be blocked. And then there is reactive depression. Reactive depression, okay, and rather talk out of personal experience about reactive depression. I exactly know what's going on. It
But
was
you can't
a
take
prolonged
action.
sense. Yes, it was actually a prolonged state of unhappiness.
Yeah,
And
despair.
I knew that.
Because so what happens in that thing, that you're in a state for so long that you do not want to take action, because you go into this learned helplessness. You do not see any reason for you to take any action, because you don't think that it will change anything. So because you're in this space for so long, that is you become a bit comfortable in that depression state of yours. And the thoughts that go into it is a lot of time is from learned helplessness. It's despair. It's like, what's the use of me going out? I'll still be like this. Why will I do this? What will be, well, what will it change? Harmful releases. So injuring and harming ourselves, scratching, picking, biting, punching, hair pulling, head banging, cutting, burning. So a lot of those things is part of this distress intolerance. Okay. And then you can go into it like, okay, some people do some of this thing and then they say, I'm depressed. But sometimes they're just sad. Sometimes they just don't know where to go. Sometimes you see, it's very easy to label something, but once you label something, then you take away your choice from yourself to do anything differently. If you label yourself as a depressed person, then you have no choice but to behave like a depressed person. If I'm sad about something and I say, oh, I'm depressed, then I have no choice but to act depressed because I'm depressed. So how will I act? A depressed person behaves like a depressed person because now I've labeled myself and then I do it. And that's quite common. But if you sit with them and you talk to them and you ask them the right questions so they can interpret things differently, you will see that their behavior changes also. Their outlook start to change towards things because right now they've given the label so much power that it has taken over them. Now they need medical help for them to get out of it. Yes, Mary.
But I know that there are also situations where it's almost like the opposite, like the person is in a depressed state, but you know, they've finally gotten over the hump and they've gone on with their life, and maybe something happens or they have a conversation, and then they now start remembering all those symptoms, and then they realize, oh my goodness, I was depressed. You know, that was a depressive episode, but I didn't even realize that I was. So like sometimes people do get depressed, but they don't realize that they are depressed. They just think that it's, you know, the world is about to end, and maybe they're lucky and something happens that pulls them out of that dark place.
Absolutely, and you're right. A lot of people are suffering from depression, but they don't know it. You know, they don't know it, and they are just living like that. Like,
so would that would that be a form of distress intolerance? I mean, if you don't know that what your ailment is, or that you could possibly have this thing, will that, I guess, yeah, okay. It doesn't matter, does it? It's you're still not tolerating the distress,
it's the emotions. It's the emotions that
you're not managing properly.
That we have this perceived inability of ourselves that we can't manage. So it becomes so much that we get depressed because we are avoiding. You know, you look at the behavior. So when it comes to a place where we don't know what happened that we came to that place. Why did we get depressed? So if you look at those clusters that I shared, it will fall somewhere there. And then if they were scared about something and then it just stayed there over for a long time, then that just became chronic. And it's making things difficult for them in their lives, but they don't know what's happening. But there's a whole lot of avoidance that goes into that. So intolerance of distress is the biggest issue in all this. Okay, we have some messages. Hang on. Mahima said we use the word depressed like confetti. There are different types of depressions. Correct. There are different types, different levels. And for example, you said I fell down at, I feel down at times. Does that mean I'm depressed? No. You feel down. You can be sad. You can be, you can be irritated. You can be disappointed. You can be any of these emotions. The problem is majority of us, we can name more than 5 emotions. We are emotionally illiterate. So we jump into whatever comes to us the easiest, and then we behave like that. What makes sense to us? I feel down. Oh, I'm so depressed. Well, that's when you cut everything out, and then you give yourself no choice but to behave like a depressed person.
Mm.
Emmeline wrote, feelings of depression is not real depression. Oh, in the medical world, the state must be present for a lengthy time for more than a few months to get the label. Perhaps the chronic state Mohib talking about. Correct. Correct. But then exactly what we are talking about, you're distress intolerant for such a long period, and then you are going into suppression and distraction, and you're behaving all this numbing and alcohol and maybe harmful releases. So you're going into all these things to escape that pain that you're feeling because of the perceived inability of yourself not to actually face those emotions or experience those emotions. This stress improvement. Okay, before we go into this, I'm gonna, hi, Emmeline. Yes, carry on, you talk.
Okay.
Hi, Mariam. Okay,
I wanted to ask, so what is then the difference between prolonged distress that end up in possible depressed state and burnout?
Burnout.
Burnout.
Depression and burnout. You can get depressed because of burnout.
Yes, but what is the difference?
What's the difference between burnout and depression?
Yes.
Okay, you can. Okay, for example, I work every day till 2 a.m. in the morning. So I can get burned out. But I don't have to be depressed. I can get into
you can get.
But if I call it depression, then I will be depressed. You see? Yeah, go on, Mary.
As someone who has at least experienced a little bit of burnout myself, I never actually thought of myself as depressed. I was under a lot of stress. It was challenging for a while, and I actually liked the work, but the sheer amount of work wore me down. And after a while, I realized that I wasn't bringing my A game. I wasn't as on top of things as I should be. And I didn't even care as much, even though I wanted to. So it was never really, but I never felt depressed. I just felt I need a break, and I need a long break. And I was just tired. So for me, that's burnout. That's when you've pushed yourself a little too hard, a little too long. And some people can tip into depression because then when you start feeling that this is how it's going to be for the rest of your life, then it gets depressing. I was working as a contractor, so I knew that it was not going to be forever, but it still didn't stop me getting to burnout because it was just a little longer than my body could take. So I
Thank you,
know
Mary.
there's a
Thank
slight
you.
difference there. Yeah.
I'll share more comment.
I just I kind of agree with that burnout and stuff, but how you can balance that burnout? Burning out is a period of a time. You have a good purpose behind it, so that make it kind of balance it up. Because if you work for a certain of time that, okay, I'm gonna just do something good, so that purpose is kind of like a supportive system you're using behind that.
True, true.
So
I also had
you
to,
never go through you never go through
Yeah.
the stress and everything, because you have a beautiful purpose and picture behind that. That's going to be temporary, but I agree with that. If it's go for the rest of your life, that brings you down. It can bring you to the state of like anything. Yeah.
true. I also had to deal with the fact that at some point it felt like I was working with a lot of people that were not in sync with where we were going. So it wasn't just that we were going on this really, exciting journey and we're trying to build something, but we were building it. We knew it was really good, but we also had to fight with a lot of people that were pushing against change. So that also added to the amount of stress. So it wasn't just the job, it was also the attitude of people that you were supposed to be working with that wasn't like ideal. So I can see what you mean when you say that it has to be a good purpose at work, because if it was just that, I don't think I would ever have, I would have struggled as much as I did in the last stages of.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you.
That's why my point is because life in a natural way is not fair, but it depends of us. That's the same thing, we have to find the beauty and everything for our sake, to unload the load we have on our shoulder, the extra load we have on our shoulder, as a stress, you call it, anything. So we try to find that purpose, a beauty in everything, and just carry on the life. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Okay, okay, I shared a link in the chat. So it's just to see where you are with your tolerance. So it's about, am I distress intolerant? So you guys fill this up. Let me read some message. Mahima said, I think it's also to do with words you use for yourself. Absolutely. Stress is used in a negative way. However, there are people who need stress to achieve peak performance. Absolutely. There are good stress. There is positive stress also in life. That even positive distress, it becomes a problem when that stress and distress takes over our life. Emmeline said, it seems I probably was never depressed in the true sense, even though was labeled as such when I was a young adult by doctors. It seems it was a normal response which leaned towards distress tolerance and an extreme one to avoid things. Yes, distress intolerance. Okay, none of the above answers is in the form are applicable to me, Trude said. Well done. Thank you. Are we to take one that apply to us? Yes. If you find something that is that you relate to, you take on it. So burnout, another thing, burnout that becomes depressing. Mothers go through this. There's a postpartum depression after they give birth. Suddenly, a woman doesn't have a life. They're feeding the baby. It's a great cause. They have a baby, they're feeding every 2 hours, and it's just happening. But then they have nothing else. They have no life. They have, especially if they don't have proper support, and they go into this state of depression. And there are cases of suicide because of this. Yes, Trude.
I think postpartum depression is also that the mother doesn't feel any feelings towards the baby. And they are supposed to. And I don't know, the way I've understood it is that is what leads to, yeah,
Well,
severe.
okay, understood. So that's one cause of it, right? But why is that emotions coming? Why is there this dislike, or maybe at some places hatred towards the baby? Because what they are seeing, the baby is seen as them taking their life from them. And but that this is an extreme case. But some relationships break because babies are involved. Suddenly the husband and wife don't really have a good relationship anymore because mother is giving all the attention to the baby and he's not getting what he used to get, and it becomes a problem. Or then suddenly the mother is doing everything and the father is absent. So burnout. So the burnout can be anything. And the best example was that when you get into thinking of hopelessness, despair. This is it. My life is like this. Every day, wake up, go to work, come home. Every day, wake up, go, come home. At 2 a.m., you cannot see your friends. You cannot see your family. You can't do anything. You can't watch anything. And after some time, you become like this. Okay, are you guys done? Yes, comment.
So the previous example of that burnout was totally different with that. I totally agree with whatever you said. That, yeah, I totally agree. I read about that. But in this case of like a birth situation, it's kind of like a biological effect as well, because all the chemical changes, through all the process of, that when they give it the birth, through that pregnancy and stuff. So that's, we talked about the burnout and the good purpose, because this one has a good purpose as well, to have a child. That's what the life is, the process of life is. But this is why I just to put on that extra stuff, like the biological, like a chemical imbalance in your body, because of that all the situation happens through your body. So this is, I want to say that.
Absolutely. So a lot of things happen. Okay, where is the quiz? So this is how many responses do I have? Okay.
So if none of them apply to you, then
very good. You're in a good space.
Actually, no, I'm just saying, because it's that's not me. Something did apply to me. I'm just saying, if none of them apply to you, then you may have not responded.
No.
Or something. Or did you get something from everybody? I'm just saying.
No. So the thing is, if you think none of this is applicable to you, and then you're good. The thing is, based on this question, I can only come up with 15. I cannot put any more. So there can be other things out there that can be related to you. So now that you will go through this workshop, you'll see that there are more things that I'll share, and you'll see if there's anything that relates to you, what upsets you, what gets you in a bad place, what doesn't, what makes you, what are the things in your life that you don't want to go. I don't want to see that person. I don't want to see my in-laws. I don't want to see this. I don't want to see that. Don't want to go there. I don't want to deal with these kind of people. All that is distressing, so you're avoiding. So it can be as much as that. Okay, so there is always something that we do have, but sometimes it's just not visible to us till we become aware of like, hey, what am I doing? And then you will see, you don't know what you don't know till you know. The more you know, the more you realize that you don't know. Okay, we continue. So that was for you guys to see. Nothing, no. If you see something that's relatable, then you can keep an eye on it. Okay, where were we? Got one message. Years earlier, I would have answered yes to many. Okay, well, you've been working on yourself for a while, David. Okay. So distress improvement. So now we get into distress improvement. Exercise, walk, jog, gym. The top thing that you can do is one of these. It really helps you. Cleaning. Cleaning, dishwashing, vacuuming, dusting. Cooking, call a friend, going out for lunch, coffee, dinner, shopping, watch a movie, read a book, music, puzzle games, volunteering, give someone a present, mindfulness exercises. So the thing is, it gets you going. The idea is that you get out of that thought space that you're stuck in and that perceived inability of yourself. By taking action, you see more of yourself and understand that no, you can experience these things and you'll still be okay. Okay, and this, there is a space between our thought and our reactions. So if you can widen that gap, you will create space for you to reconsider things, to think over what you thought before, how you interpreted things. Okay, soothing activities. Okay, so there is actions and then there is soothing. Yes, Mary.
Oh, massage came to mind immediately.
Massage is that light a candle. Candle
Mhm.
is so soothing, You don't realize it, but you light a candle and you sit with it, you will see how calming it is. Take a bath. Engaging in a hobby. Spending time in nature. Look at the stars. I find it really, really, really calming. But if you live in a city, you will not really
I was
see
about to say,
stars.
you must live somewhere else in the sticks. I was just
Yeah.
about to say that.
Yeah.
We can still see stars here, but it's on a really clear night.
Yeah, Emmeline shared the picture. That was really amazing.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
Really
I'm going to
gorgeous.
recommend my husband to clean the house to help him distress. Good luck. Get a massage. Reframing.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. Reframing so that, rethink your thoughts. Understand how are you interpreting it? What is it that you're really feeling? Are you just naming it? Are you really depressed? Or are you sad about something? Are you irritated, frustrated, disappointed? What is the right emotion? So that one, I have to do the emotional literacy workshop for you guys. Maybe next month. Laugh out loud. You cannot laugh when you're stressed and distressed. If you do that, if you can manage and get yourself to laugh out loud, you will break you will break that pattern. You'll start seeing things. Go for a picnic, use your favorite perfume, light yoga, stretching, and that's it. So these are soothing activities that you can do. Yes, Mary?
Another one to add is watch videos of animals doing funny things or babies.
Yes, but that can go into avoidance, because then you're jumping from one video to another video to another video to another video.
True.
So
Yeah, but
that
those
can
baby
become an
videos
avoidance method. So you need to watch out what you're doing and for how long you're doing it.
do it with intention.
Yes. So if you just want to watch it, watch one video, two video, and then laugh out loud, and then get in a better space of mind, and then you get and don't go and face what you're fearing, especially yourself and the emotion, the perceived inability of yourself, you will see. Okay. Distress and tolerance. Oh, I can't see that. What is that? Distress and tolerance, what? Oh, methods. So, the skills. The RAIN method. The RAIN method is recognize. Recognize involves identifying the emotion you're experiencing. It's the first step in gaining control over distressing emotions. A, allow. Allow means giving yourself permission to feel the emotion without judgment. It's about accepting the emotion rather than resisting it. Investigate. This steps encourages curiosity. Investigate involves exploring the emotion, understanding its triggers, and examining how it affects you. Non-identification. The final step, non-identification, emphasizes that you are not defined by your emotions. It involves recognizing that emotions come and go, and they don't define your identity. So when you say, I am depressed, then you carry that as an identity. Then that's a problem. But if you're feeling a depressive emotion, or you're in a state of depression, or you will see that you are actually more powerful than the emotion. You manage the emotion. The emotion doesn't manage as you. What is the next method? The HALT method. H is hungry. It reminds you to check if you're physically hungry, as low blood sugar can exacerbate distress. So at times, this is very important. Hunger is a big trigger, but we don't know. So check, when was the last time you ate proper food? Are you on some donuts? For every day you eat 10 donuts and then drink coffee, and that's your meal? So food has a big hand in your emotional state. Angry. It suggests considering if your distress is being fueled by anger or unresolved issue. So anger can be all those other things, annoyance, disappointment, where is this coming from? Loneliness can intensify distress. So it's important to recognize if you need social connection. Are you lonely? Even though but lonely can be very tricky. You can be in a group of people, but then none of them can recognize with you. You don't have the same habits, you don't have the same hobbies, you don't have the same things. Are you in your tribe? Then you are just one odd person. You can't talk to anybody. You can't, you don't have any proper social connections. So looking into this, sometimes, no, I have so many people at home, but yeah, who do you talk to? Who do you go out with? Who do you sit with and have a nice conversation which is relaxing? Or is it everybody avoiding everybody and on each other's throat? Some families are like that. Tired. Exhaustion can magnify emotional reactions. So assessing your level of fatigue is crucial. Burnout comes here. Are you doing too much? Are you working too much? Okay. Yeah, there, Emmeline yawning already. It's just 5 o'clock, Emmeline. Now I know South African time. You can't say it's too late. Okay. Next. Oh, so methods. The accepts method. So this is another skill. A, activities. Engaging in activities. C, contributing. Doing something for someone else. One of the biggest thing is when we take part in charities and we take part in giving anything, you know, teaching, helping a neighbor, contributing into something can be a big source of you getting into tolerance of the perceived inability of your own self, managing your emotions. Comparisons. So I can never pronounce this word. Juxtaposing. A previous
Juxtaposing.
Juxtaposing a previous
Juxtaposing.
Juxtaposing a previous worse period of your life with your current. So you know, when we think past equals present and past equals future is when we are in that depressive state. We think that the worst thing that happened in the past will continue to happen now and will continue, it's happening now and it will continue to happen in the future. Thank you, Paul, by the way. Emotions. Generating different emotions than the ones that you're feeling now. So, as I said, we are not looking into, okay, what emotion, what am I feeling? How is this even the right emotion that I'm feeling? Or is it just something that I'm just naming because it's easy for me to pronounce I know because it is harder to think. That's why we judge. So we judge ourselves also. Pushing away. Putting the problem on the shelf. So sometimes, yes, Paul.
That one about emotions, generating different emotions than the one you're feeling. Because I think sometimes you can be, so many things can be happening in a day, and you're processing in the back of your head, and you're going, why am I feeling this emotion? And just by sort of slowing down and checking in on yourself and sort of going through what's happened, say, oh, maybe I'm still on that thing that's happened, and I'm feeling this emotion because of that. Well, let go of it, and then you can change your emotion.
Absolutely, but majority of the time we are emotionally illiterate. We are just naming our emotion wrong. So the easiest way, what you do is when you are in a distressful state and you want to check on your emotion, you write it down and put a circle around it and see what you're writing. And then you go deeper and you put 3 lines and 3 more circles and try to name it some more. See what comes out of it. This way, you're coming out of your primary emotions and you're going into your secondary emotions, which is more into the actual emotions that sitting deep down in your gut, which you have not dealt with. You know what the difference between emotions and feelings is? Suppressed, unattended emotions become feelings. And that stays with you. But you operate on the surface level and you jump into things and you react to things based on how you interpret, and you move on with that. And then that allow that to make you how you feel. And then you operate from that state. So putting things on the shelf, yes, take the problem, put it on the shelf. I'll deal with you tomorrow. But then you deal with it tomorrow. Don't leave it there, because then it will become another problem. So sometimes shelving things will allow you to think again. You'll create space for you to think and rethink over that problem to see things more clearly. Or maybe have a chat with Paul or me or someone or a friend that I shelved something, but I want to discuss it. And I was saying, and then you'll see that another result will come out of it. Thoughts. Engaging in thoughts that compete with the ones present during the crisis. So now you are going into Socratic questioning. Most of you know that. Questioning the thoughts. Why am I thinking this way? Is it factual? Is it real? Why am I interpreting things like this? Why is these emotions coming? Because, you think that emotions will come. If you're giving the sensations of you being attacked, your brain functions 100%. It will jump into action to protect you. Message. Need to leave truth. Truth, thank you very much for being here. Thank you so much. Sorry this dragged a bit, but it's almost over. Thank you for being here. Take good care. Have fun.
You too. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye. The last, not least, sensations. Use 5 senses in order to ground yourself. This one is basic, we know, right? Your smell, your sight, your auditory, your taste, your smell. So the basic of it is you see 5 things and you name it. You hear 4 things and you name it. You touch 3 things and you name it. You hear, what was it? You smell 2 things and you name it. The last one, you taste something and you name it. But majority of the time, if you are not somewhere where there is something to taste, you can also go into a very good memory in your mind and you name it. You go in one of your best times in your life and you name it. Oh, so you break the thought pattern. The whole thing is that you're breaking that cycle of repetitive negative thoughts that you're in. You break that, and then you can think better to get engaged in and compete with the thoughts that you are having. Last but not least, problem solving. Problem solving is one of the biggest tool or skill that we all can have to help ourselves in the times of crisis. Oops. Step 1, identify or define a problem. So if you are a problem solver, you will look at it and you say, okay, I have a problem. I'm in this state. Okay, what is the problem? Define the problem. This step involves acknowledging what is causing your distress, understanding its nature, and determine exactly what needs to be addressed. Generate possible solutions or options. Brainstorm a list of potential solutions or strategies to address the problem. Evaluate alternatives. Evaluate which solutions are most realistic and feasible. Decide on a plan. Create a detailed action plan that outlines the steps you need to take to implement the chosen solution. Implement the plan. Begin to execute the action plan by taking the first steps towards solving the problem. So this, you are now approaching the same situation or the same problem or the same action, knowing that it will be difficult, but now your perception, your perceived inability is like, okay, it will be difficult, I will sweat and I will suffer, but I will be okay because I have a new plan and your approach. And once you go through it, you will see like, okay, this was tough, but I can do it. And then as you do it a few times, you will get over it. Evaluate the outcome, continuously assess your progress as you work towards resolving the problem. And we are done. Questions?
I have a practical aspect of that, the last part. It's very, very similar to whatever. We can relate this one to anything in life because so I'm an electrician. So that troubleshooting is my specialty, because troubleshooting is my specialty. And when we have a electrical problem, anything happens between. So in our job, there's a source and there is outlet. So anything happens in electricity, first thing we apply to the source, that we go to the source and see we have that electricity in the source. And after that, we are sure that we have that in a source. So we walk through that the load and see what's going on between. So in a practical life, what I do is just, sometimes something happens, you close your eyes and you walk backward. So, okay, so what happened to that? So that's a troubleshooting. So I was okay till this day. So you force your mind to bring you back on the memory. So what happened between those things, and one went wrong between those ones. So you can kind of identify all that the problems of as I said, I relate that to to a lot of things, because my job is troubleshooting, and this has like exact same pattern in anything happens in the relations or something with somebody. So you just close your eyes and you go back. Okay, so what happened? So that's, I think, it's the easiest way to just go back. And the good thing is, if you did something wrong, come and just confess and say sorry, that was wrong. So that's the beauty of it.
Thank you, Kamal. Yeah, this is reframing. This is, you go back, you reframe the thoughts that you have. You look into it, and why am I feeling this way? You get yourself like, what am I thinking? What am I saying? What am I avoiding? What am I trying to escape? Why do I do this? Is this attached to a past experience? So there can be a whole lot of things that people can be suffering from and being in this position. PTSD and CPTSD, you get into triggers, you go into flashbacks and you freeze. You simply don't know how you behaved till you get to that realization and somebody says something. Yes, Mary, we have 7 minutes ahead, but you guys are okay, so I'm fine.
The tactics seem very simple, but I can really see where they will be useful. For me, my question is, when you're working with someone who is in distress, sometimes they are in distress to the level that it's almost hard for them to believe that they can actually do these things, or like to get them to even do those things. So if someone is in distress and you know you have all of these little things that they can do, how do you go about like helping them through these things? Because for us that we're in personal
Smallest.
development,
What is the smallest step they can take? Find that. What is the smallest step that they can take? Can they go from one room to another room?
mm,
Can they just go and wash their cup? What is the minimum smallest step that they can take? And
Okay.
one other thing is non-judgmental, being creating that space as a coach where they feel appreciate. They don't feel like they're looked down upon because they're feeling that way. A lot of times people, you know, they box themselves because they think they are mentally ill and they are not, there's no help for them. So creating, you know, the main three things of no judgment and congruence and unconditional positive regards, this should be the basis of everything. So you know, and another thing, you need to bring them to a space where they're unapologetic about where they are. The thing is, people feel guilty for being like this, but there shouldn't be any guilt. You're going through an emotional distress. You don't know any other way to be, because that is the only thing you know. But then everybody is apologetic and guilty for feel guilty for being depressed, feel guilty because it inconveniences others. And maybe a lot of people have told them like, what's wrong with you? Depressed, what is this? Come on, you know? So they are
together.
you know, that or anything. Maybe depression is a bit too much, or even a small thing, just being sad. Why are we not allowed to be sad? Why we need to be apologetic for being sad? So it is how we think about emotions. Emotions are our friend. Emotions are here to protect us. We are only in this emotional state because what we think, how, you know, that we are under attack. The sensations we give to our mind, to our brain, is that we are under attack, and we go into the response state based on learned. A lot of things is pre-programmed by the early men, and now we are just living it. So we go into these response states and we don't even know it that we are doing it. And sometimes somebody will be yelling at you, and you tell them, please don't yell, and they'll be, I'm not yelling.
But you do find people that seem to be happy in their distress.
Oh, absolutely. So you can't change somebody who's not ready to change.
True.
Because they don't have a reason to change. Change happens when the desire to change takes over the desire to remain the same. If I'm happy where I am, if I am in a good space, then I'm in a good space. Why would I leave it? If I'm happy with my drugs, then I'll remain happy with my drugs. You can put me anywhere, I'll still go back to it. If you know, so I need not to be happy in that place anymore. So we can be happy with a lot of our bad habits. Or we're comfortable with it, then why would we change if we're comfortable? Why would I make myself uncomfortable by going into something which is hard and difficult and stressing and distressing? Yes, Paul.
I'm just listening and thinking, it's, you know, we have the exaggerated emotion, the exaggerated responses. We give these titles to these things we feel. And then we feel these extreme states. It's like a pressure cooker. And we feel like we need to be able to get over it by just opening up the pressure cooker. But we're afraid because it's going to explode. And people don't realize it's actually those small, consistent steps that can often just release that pressure enough so that you can carry on and eventually get to a state where you feel better. And then the other thing is, you know, you talk about people raising their voice. I find it frustrating when somebody's upset you and you are excited about it, and they go, "You're raising your voice at me." And I go, "No, I'm not raising my voice. That's not raising my voice. That's me excited because you're an asshole." And I just need to say, I
True,
always think,
true.
it must be so psychopathic if you some of the things people can do, and then you question them on it, and they sit there and go, "You can't raise your voice at me." And I'm thinking, I'm sorry, your behavior is disgusting, and I can't raise my
And yeah, they say stuff like, "Why are you talking to me like that?"
And what is that called now? Gaslighting.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
gaslighting. So that's when somebody do things to you and then blame you for being like this.
Getting upset. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right. Or how you are in that you're in that emotional state or in that response state, and then, well, everything is your fault because you're being like this. You're difficult to talk to.
Some examples related to the topic we just talked about. I have a friend. Her husband is alcoholic, like absolutely alcoholic, like wasted to the level of wasted. So sometimes I talk to her about the situation. I said, "What's going on?" And she got stuck in that situation. She cannot get out of the problem. And she said, like, "I love him." So now I think she's in the states of, she got used to that, to the abuse and the situation. And that situation became a part of her life, Now she cannot get out because she has nothing else to fulfill that part,
Mm.
This is very awkward situation. That's
You need
very
to help.
true, because and that's why you have to. That's why now, if the husband goes for therapy or something, so now she has an empty space she cannot fulfill with something.
So it becomes, she starts to even enable the behavior because now she's
It became a part of her life now. She cannot let it go. She got used to live with that problem. If that problem goes away, she got nothing to do. And that's possible. That I've seen.
So this is where codependency comes in.
Mm.
This is where the fawn state that I was talking to you about, that comes in, because now this person doesn't think that she can have a life without this person. So she's codependent to this. And continuous pleasing this beast is her way of protecting herself.
Absolutely. This
She's
is why
in a fawn response state to save herself.
So the beauty of thing is, because whatever you have on a theory, and we practically seen that, it makes a lot of sense in the situation. Same thing. I have another friend, same thing. Her husband is alcoholic, and he's driving in a drunk state. And what she does is she's praying to God that, he gets caught by cop. I say, "Why you do that?" She said, "I cannot leave him because of the financial situation. I cannot, support myself or my kids. So I need his financial support." So it's real, because whatever you explain, it makes a lot of sense, So I face a lot of those things, because sometimes I'm not a professional, but I talk to the people. Last thing we talked about, you said that the minimum thing you can do to help somebody go into stress. So I have a second cousin. He has like a severe social anxiety. He cannot get along with anybody. So as you said, that I created a space so he can step in and he can talk to me. I think I'm the only person he can openly come and talk to about this stuff, And sometimes what you said, that I agree with that, sometimes what minimum we can do. So sometimes I call that, say, "You know what? I know he loves the movies and stuff." I say, I talk to him, I call him, I say, "You know what? what's going on. Do they find a nice movie we can watch together? And you know what? He like he makes him like so happy that he gave him the entire world. So this is, you talk about, give somebody like the minimum, what can you do for something. But for the rest of the people I know, judgmental, they know him as like, oh, that guy is like, crazy, look at him, exact words you say, like, oh, he's 28 years old, still live with the parents, no life, what's going on? But we realize, as we talk, we respect the situation, because like what's going on, what he's going through, I respect that. That's why I gave him the space so he can enter and talk freely about that. And thank you very much for that. And it really makes sense for me.
Thank you, Kamal. That's a good support you're giving him. Now he is in that place. He is how he is. He does not know that he can be different. So he's comfortable in that space.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Another thing, please understand that a problem is only a problem if you say it's a problem. So you are, yes, Maggie.
Okay. And guys, you can chirp in as well to get your opinion. So I have a situation where I have a family member who has gone through quite a few rough patches, but she has always held out really well. She has 2 kids, and it's always been about the kids, and she's always held out really well, such that one actually admires how well she's managed through like separations and job stuff and all of the normal hardships. But she's finally gotten into a situation that is stable, so she has a relationship. Everything is going well for her now. But now is when she is having a depressive episode. Like, she's checked herself into a clinic for like overwhelm, and she's constantly posting DPs about depressed people, they're alone, all of those kind of things. And there's a part of me that really empathizes and would like to be there and would like to even offer some sort of support. But then I'm also slightly stumped, because when she went through the really hard stuff, she soldiered on very, it's like, it is life, let's just get this. But now she's in a comfortable place, and this now is when you're depressed. So how do you reconcile that, and how can you be there? Is, on the one hand, you're like, you can't really help someone who doesn't want to be helped, because she's almost waving it like a flag, like, look at me, I've got, PTSD and I'm depressed. And, she's almost reveling in it. And the few conversations that I've had with her does not really give me the impression that she's looking for any sort of help. It's almost like an alcoholic that has now decided, that I'm a depressed person, and, it's like, this is my label now, and I'm going to hold it there. How do you help those kind of people? What do you do with that? Yes, Emily?
You guys go ahead, and then I'll talk in the end.
Okay. And more can answer more about that, but I just wanted to set my insight. It can be the lady could be addicted to she could be addicted to supportive and emotions, and yes, and now everything is going along. She needs something to trigger it in people to get that same response again. It's possible, or it can be a delayed emotional response because she was so long in survival mode. But okay, move up.
Anybody else?
That's what I say. Like, that's just me through everything. So what happens in a storm? When a storm happens, so your body's in a survival mode. You usually seeking survival. When the storm comes down, and after you see the damage. So in a real state of life is the same thing, because something happened to me, because I'm from Afghanistan. I grew up in a war. So whatever situation at that time was, I want to survive. So whatever happened to me, physically, mentally, everything, I just left it behind and just moved forward. Now I'm in a state of, calm state. I have a life. And so because nothing is vanishing from your memories, subconscious memories. Now, and I'm in a state, I come back and think about it, So it bothers me now, why? This is very common to happen because when you're in a time, you struggle, you fight, you don't think about it. But this is exactly, I related, I don't know, like kind of same situation. So.
Okay, makes
Mary,
sense.
can I
Mm.
also just chirp in? I just think sometimes what happens is when you're in that survival state, you have that's what you have to focus on, and there's the problem solving, and you don't want to be in a place. You're looking to move to, obviously, to a place where things are comfortable. But when you're in that place where things are comfortable, maybe there's fear that it's all going to go away and you're going to be in a bad place again. And I think sometimes, I'm going to relate it to me. I grew up very poor and I have a fear of poverty. So most of my life I've done really well, but I still have the fear that things are going to change and I'm going to end up poor. So there's that. And maybe this, with something of all these things happening there, she's had all these difficulties. Now things are good. And she's, oh God, what if this all goes away and I have to deal with that again?
That makes so much sense because I won't lie, the whole family has been really, really stumped. It's like, why? It's like, what is everything's peachy now. What is wrong? So yes, those are quite useful ways of looking at it. Thanks for that. And Muhib?
What's the problem?
Well,
why is she not allowed to be like that?
Well, I think it's that whole idea of putting out there, I'm depressed. If it's a loved one, it almost makes everyone feel guilty that if you're not giving her any attention, but then also makes everyone feel slightly like, what the heck is your problem though? It's like, we've got more problems than you have. You really don't have anything to be complaining. So it's that feeling, yes, it's all is on me now or on whoever is thinking it.
So it's about you, not about her.
My question to you is I get that it could be okay for somebody to feel like that, but when it interferes with others, when it spills over, then
when she's checking herself into a clinic, when she's leaving the kids now, for 2 weeks, and she's coming back and it's, she's posting things on her DP that, it, I don't know, it maybe it's a reflection on us as well, but like the family kind of feels like it just, is it like we're not paying attention to you enough? But like, is there something that we could have been doing? God forbid something happens and then everybody feels like she did call out for help, but we never paid attention because we didn't think it was something serious. Should we be paying more attention or should we not? Or, it's like, so everyone is kind of like in that state, like, is anyone paying attention to this? Is she okay? Can we call her? Or are we not supposed to talk about it? It's all of that,
Correct. So majority of the time, it's more on us than on them because it inconveniences us. It inconveniences everybody else. And again, distress intolerance. You are distressing over all these things that you shared. Oh, what will happen is, do we do this? Do we do that? What's happening? How do I deal with it? Is stressing, distressing, emotionally.
Brain power, man.
What do I talk to this person, right? So, first of all, just breathe in and take a step that just because a person lived a strong life and, went through so much, Doesn't mean they need to be like that all the time. They can break down. That's burnout. That's Emmeline. There's burnout. You know, you did so much with a great cause, managed the kids, you're on your own, you know, did all that. And now you're not even allowed to get get into an emotional space. Who's leaving? Soham? Thank you, Soham.
Bye, Soham.
Take care. So you know, getting into this judgmental space, getting into this because it's inconveniencing us. So maybe you can, you know, if you want to do something about it, maybe just have a chat, you know, like create a space where that person feels safe enough to talk to you without going with your judgmental blinkers. You know, that, oh, all your life you are so strong. Why are you like this? I have more problem than you. We all have more problem than you. What's wrong with you? Why you have this DP?
I have to work on my no judgment. I think maybe because it's family. You know, family is always a different.
That's why you can't
I
coach.
really have to work on the no judgment aspect.
You can't coach friends and family. So you know, if she needs help, send her to me. But as a family member, have that, create a space for her so she knows that she will come here and she will accept it in whatever form and shape and emotional overwhelm she comes in, and she will be welcomed open-heartedly. And then you listen and just listen. That's it. Because again, it's all more about us, how they're making us feel. Oh, this strong person going through depression. What will happen to me? Will I go into depression also? If she can go into depression, I can surely will go into depression. I have more problem. All these things going into your head, right? So this is simple distress intolerant. You are being distress intolerant. Because of that, because of your overthinking things, you know? And that's it. Why isn't she allowed
the
to
question
do
was,
that? Yes,
Mohib, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The question was why, when she was going through all the troubles and everything, she was strong, but now she is in a good, you know, stable situation. She's not. So my answer was about that one was because
Survival
that's
thing.
what. So yeah, so this is why, because personally for myself,
Absolutely, you're right. You're right. Of course, then you know when we
treatment is absolutely okay. I 100% agree with that. What can you do? First thing,
what I'm trying to say, that then there doesn't need to be any reason.
No, I agree.
There doesn't have to. It doesn't have to be because she was in a survival mode and she's not a survival mode. You know, there is no need to find a reason why she became like that. It's fine. It's her personal. She will find the reason. We don't need to know the reason for her to become like this for us to no. So you are making sense of things for yourself. Now you're looking for a reason for her depression. We don't know. It can be a trigger from her childhood. It could be a trigger from anywhere else, you know. Because depression, I tell you, you ask her why you depressed, she'll say, I don't know. I'm feeling like this, like this, like this, like this, but the cause is unknown. Okay? So, you know, we are trying to make sense of other people's state of mind for our convenience, so we can make sense of it. Right? And there can be anything. It can be survival. It can be anything, but it doesn't matter. So this is where we are. We need to be more open about mental health. That people don't need a specific reason to get anxious or depressed or sad or having all these emotions. These are your emotions. People go through it. It's how they deal with it. So this distress tolerance, the stress intolerance, is what we go through. And the more tolerant of our distress we become, the stronger we show up for ourselves and for everybody else. With that,
One last question.
yes,
Are you going to share the slides or at least the last bits? Because I'd like to have those like solution thingies, summaries that you made.
can. I can send it to you, no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I said 1.5 hours, it's been 2 hours. I hope it was beneficial and you learned something new.
Definitely.
I'll try to do one workshop every month. So we all can sit together and just have a chit chat and learn from each other. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Alrighty.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Have
Bye,
a good
guys.
day, night. Thank you, Mariam. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Emmeline. Thank you, Carmel. Thank you, the happiness coach. Bye-bye.